now the latest on August 11th around the wide world of tropics. Here's your tropical weather bulletin. 2 tropical storms remain active in the western Pacific: Lekima, remnants of a typhoon, and Krosa, which also was a typhoon. 43 storms have formed so far, day 223 of the year. No systems are active in the Atlantic right now on day 72 of Atlantic hurricane season. None are on the horizon either in the next 7 days. In the Eastern Pacific, day 89 brings 2 invests, 92 and 93E. They could have a chance of formation. Lekima is still progressing along the Chinese coast, still very large, and Krosa is even larger, but both weakening at this time. No storms are active in the southern hemisphere right now. It's all quiet. Lekima still has a pretty large wind field and has winds of 60 miles per hour and a pressure of 980 millibars, estimate from the Japanese Meteorological Agency. This storm is likely to progress towards the north. It's 66 miles east of Yancheng in China, 32.9 north, 121.4 degrees east. Lekima progressing towards the north, as I said, throughout the rest of this weekend into next week. Will then move further north there along the eastern coast of China, not far from the Korean Peninsula, and really weaken to a tropical depression briefly, and then a post-tropical cyclone, and then shoot off towards the northeast. Krosa is located here, 65 mile-an-hour winds on our estimates, a pressure of 970 millibars. Its current position puts it 131 miles from Iwo Jima, 23 degrees north, 140.3 degrees east. Now, Krosa is expected to move towards the northwest now. It looks like it's decided that motion is going to occur thanks to all of that stalling, which has decreased the chance that it will move off towards the northeast without affecting Japan, the main islands. So it now looks like later on in the week it will still be a tropical storm, possibly a high-end tropical storm, or maybe even a low-end typhoon if it does get its act together and strike the Japanese islands, maybe Shikoku, onto Honshu. Here's the latest imagery of it. Huge, but really ill-defined in the center, as you can see. Wind shear values are somewhat low, 10 to 15 knots, which is still just about on the favorable side. The Atlantic right now looks like this. It's fairly quiet. There's a few little disturbance-looking type systems there along the Sargasso Sea, mainly, not far from Bermuda. Elsewhere in the Atlantic itself, a few little tropical waves in the lower latitudes, but not much at all. More potent one near the Cape Verde Islands, though. And looking at the Gulf of Mexico, things pretty quiet here. Thunderstorms over the US Gulf Coast towards the east. The Eastern Pacific is fairly quiet, but those 2 invests are starting to appear on the map. 93E is there on the left-hand side. 92E, I think, is there as well on that graphic. But further out over the open ocean, not much going on here at all. The Eastern Pacific will probably have an active spell now in the next week or 2. In the Western Pacific, Krosa is still enormous. Its influence extends from the Ogasawara Islands almost as far as Yap. Lekima is really on its way out. It may turn post-tropical or weaken more quickly than we're expecting. But it still has a large wind field right now and could still cause significant damage along the Chinese coast and flooding. The southern hemisphere looking like this, Australia and South Pacific very quiet at this time, and in the Indian Ocean a big flare-up occurring over Pakistan right now. That is what was 95B, which is what was Tropical Storm Whiffer once upon a time. In the sea surface temperatures then, these are how they're looking right now. 30 degrees or more along the western coast of Mexico. Same too for a very large part of the Gulf of Mexico now, and into the western Caribbean, and also over the Bahamas. So the Atlantic is very warm, especially further west there. We're really looking out for a potential storm that will really use up those water temperatures, and that's what we've got to be mindful of in the Atlantic as we enter the later part of this month. The Indian Ocean looking like this. Temperature still fairly warm, 28 plus degrees generally. And in the Western Pacific it is cooler, but it is still fairly warm, 28 degrees or more over a large part of the ocean, apart apart from one or two areas directly underneath these two typhoons upwelling. So this is the latest on Lekima right now. As you can see, convection is really waning, not much of it left. It passed over Shanghai not so long ago. It was probably a high-end tropical storm when it did that, so by no means the strongest storm to pass over Shanghai as we once feared. And this is what what was Typhoon Krosa is looking like. And you can still see how it could get back to typhoon status with a massive banding feature across the eastern and southern side, and what could be quite possibly one of the largest eyes in the Western Pacific on the way, who knows. But this is how we're looking in the naming list then now on August the 11th. The next name in the Atlantic is Chantal. The Eastern Pacific will see Henriette, followed by Evo if we get those two in succession. And in the Central Pacific, the next name on the list is Akoni. Over in the Western Pacific, we're looking out for Bailu next, and in the North Indian Ocean, it's Hika. You can find Force 13's outlets, the website force13.com with the latest information. You can also find our YouTube page, search Force 13 all in text if you're not there already, subscribe if you haven't so far, and you can find us on Facebook and Twitter, search Force 13 all in text. I'm going away on vacation now until August 24th, so updates may be infrequent by our other members, but we'll hope to do as many as we can. You can also help the project become even better by becoming a patron. You can see more information about all the benefits involved by visiting patreon.com/Force13. With a special thanks to these people for being our most valued patrons this month. You can also check out our growing merch store so you can show Force 13's colours wherever you go. You can also find a link to our Discord server underneath this video in the description.